Hello, dear students. Welcome to our second virtual class. With this class, we move in deeper into understanding adolescence. In this case, in context of relationships. So let's jump in and see what Chapter 4 is all about. In this chapter, we look at families, and especially parenting styles. This can be a sensitive subject to some, because one can never wants to think our parents may have done something wrong. Again, rather than thinking about right and wrong, I often think we can't give what we don't have, and none of us have everything everyone needs, including our kids. I also remember a dear friend, who's a psychologist, once say to me, "It's not what happens to us that causes trauma, it's what happens after." So how we help kids after life hits them is really what matters. With this in mind, I want you to explore more deeply the following 3 areas from our chapter's reading. Explore the 4 parenting styles mentioned in the chapter and reflect on which one your parents might have used most. Also interesting to note, on page 108, it talks about the adverse effects of authoritarian on white kids being greater than ethnic minorities. Consider why this is. It is in this chapter that we begin to see another myth around adolescence challenged, that they are argumentative. As you noticed in this chapter, arguments are not really centered on values, rather on areas of control, like clothes, curfews, etc. We also see there are differences in the way Americanized teenagers of different ethnic backgrounds argue with their parents versus first-generation immigrant teenagers. We also note in this chapter the difference in temperaments of adolescents also impact their relationships with their parents. In all of this, it is important to remember that all research in the area of adolescence recognize the value and importance of relationships. Ultimately, our loving presence is key, and it's always good to remember relationships take time. The book also mentions the economic gap that impacts adolescents and their familial relationships. We cannot discuss economic gaps without also discussing the role of institutionalized racism and its role in setting up and widening this gap. I'd like you to watch a couple of videos here. Remember to check the notes section of the slide that have to do with the GI Bill and redlining. Understanding how wealth was distributed inequitably due to redlining and segregated neighborhoods will better help us understand why we have present-day ghettos and such vast inequality among racial lines. After watching these videos, go back and reflect on this graph that was referenced in the chapter. How does redlining, for example, create an emotional impact on adolescents that can last generations? Finally, because this chapter discusses the role of families in the lives of adolescents, I wanted to share with you this resource on important research done by Joyce Epstein on the importance of parent involvement. In the notes section of this slide, you will find a document that explains more in depth each type and each key of parent involvement. As we have covered a great deal in just this class, I'd like you to reflect on this Padlet and share out some ahas for you regarding any of the learning. I will be looking to see class participation in this virtual setting through this Padlet, so please put your name on your post. I also want to take some time to go over a semester-long project, which is your Webliography. In your Webliography, you will identify 10 web-based resources to best support adolescents. These resources can be for adolescents themselves, for their families, or for teachers and schools working with adolescents. These resources must be in the state of California or a nationwide organization, and they must be a site. In other words, a PDF cannot be a resource unless it is attached to a larger site that you reference. There's also a very clear format you need to follow that is in your syllabus. Please go to your syllabus to see clearly how this format is followed. The Webliography is 15% of your grade and must be worked on individually. So, for your after-class assignments, begin working on your Webliography, as you don't want this to pile up on you in the end. You will also have a discussion on a video you will watch. I want you to consider how you will help students like them who have difficult stories. Remember to post your initial comment by Friday, and then 2 replies to classmates by Sunday before midnight. Also, think of this in context of adolescence. How would you support these adolescents through these difficult life experiences? With that, have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you online.